The stars look different out here. Commander Lisa Reeves stood at the main viewport of the U.S. Defiant, watching the unfamiliar patterns of light that marked the edge of known space. After 15 years of service in Earth's defense fleet, she thought she knew every major star cluster by heart. But out here, everything was new. Commander, Daniel Wright's voice broke through her thoughts. The young science officer's face glowed blue in the light of his holographic display. I'm picking up some unusual readings. Lisa turned away from the viewport. Define unusual, Mr. Wright. That's just it, ma'am. I can't. Daniel's fingers danced across his console, bringing up several charts that made no sense. These energy signatures, they're breaking every rule in the book. It's like watching water flow uphill. The bridge crew fell silent. In the year 2245, humanity had mapped out most of the laws that governed space travel. They knew what was possible and what wasn't, or at least they thought they did. Show me, Lisa ordered, moving to stand behind Daniel's station. The readings on his screen pulsed with patterns she had never seen before. Numbers jumped and fell in ways that shouldn't be possible. Location: bearing 227 Mark 043, about 3 light hours from our position, Daniel replied. He looked up at her with concern in his eyes. Ma'am, according to these readings, there's something out there that's, well, it's ignoring the laws of physics. Lisa straightened up. She had learned long ago that in deep space, the impossible usually meant trouble. Helm, set course for those coordinates. Yellow alert. The U.S. Defiant's engines hummed to life, pushing the ship through the darkness between stars. As they drew closer to the source of the readings, the ship's sensors began picking up more anomalies. Gravity waves bent in impossible directions. Light curved around invisible objects that shouldn't exist. Multiple contacts ahead, announced Lieutenant Sam Cooper from Tactical. There, ma'am, they look like structures of some kind. The main view screen activated, showing what lay before them. Lisa's breath caught in her throat. Floating in the void was a massive array of crystalline structures, each one larger than her ship. They pulsed with internal light, creating patterns that hurt her eyes if she looked at them too long. It's artificial, Daniel said, his voice filled with awe. These are machines, Commander, but they're operating on principles I can't even begin to understand. Lisa watched as one of the crystal structures suddenly shifted, its entire form rotating through dimensions that shouldn't exist. Are we recording all of this? Every sensor we have is running at full capacity, Daniel confirmed. But there's something else. The structures, they're broadcasting something. A signal. More like a warning. Daniel's face paled as he read the incoming data. Commander, I think this is some kind of beacon, and if I'm translating this correctly, it's telling us that something is coming. Something big. Lisa felt a chill run down her spine. 15 years of experience told her that finding alien technology usually meant trouble. Finding alien technology that broke the laws of physics. That was worse. Can you decode the rest of the message? Daniel worked at his console for several minutes while the rest of the bridge crew watched in tense silence. Finally, he looked up, his face grave. Yes, ma'am. It's a warning, boy. Left by a species that's long gone. They're warning about entities they call the Axiom, some kind of advanced race that believes they're the guardians of natural law. And, Lisa prompted, knowing there had to be more. And according to this, the Axiom wiped them out because they developed technology that could bend reality, just like these structures we're seeing. Daniel swallowed hard. Commander, humanity's latest experiments with quantum engineering. They're exactly the kind of thing that would attract the Axiom's attention. Lisa felt the weight of command settle heavily on her shoulders. She looked around at her crew, all of them waiting for her decision. They had just stumbled onto something that could mean the difference between humanity's survival and its extinction. Mr. Wright, download everything you can from that beacon. Lieutenant Cooper, maintain our defensive posture. Communications, prepare a Priority 1 message to Earth Defense Command. Tell them, She paused, choosing her words carefully. Tell them we found something that changes everything we thought we knew about the universe, and tell them we're not alone out here anymore. As her crew rushed to carry out her orders, Lisa turned back to the viewport. The crystal structures continued their impossible dance against the backdrop of stars, each movement defying what she had been taught about how the universe worked. She had a feeling that very soon, humanity would have to choose between playing by the universe's rules and finding ways to break them. They worked for hours, gathering data from the alien beacon. Daniel discovered that it contained more than just warnings. It held technical information as well. Designs for technology that could alter the fabric of reality itself. The same technology that had drawn the attention of the Axiom and led to its creator's destruction. "Commander," Daniel called out, his voice shaking slightly. "I found coordinates, specific locations in space where the Axiom are likely to appear when they detect advanced technological development." "When, not if?" Lisa asked, noting his choice of words. "Yes, Mom. According to this data, they've done this many times before. They view themselves as the universe's immune system, eliminating any species that learns to break natural law." He looked up at her, his expression grim. "And based on these calculations, Earth's recent breakthroughs in quantum engineering have already put us on their radar." Lisa stood in silence for a long moment, processing the implications. Humanity had fought wars before. They had faced alien threats and survived. But this was different. This wasn't just a fight for territory or resources. It was a fight for their right to progress, to evolve, to break through the barriers that the universe had placed in their path. "How long?" she asked. Daniel checked his calculations. "If the beacon's information is accurate, 3 months. Maybe less." Lisa nodded, her decision made. "Send everything to Earth Defense Command. All the technical data, all the warnings, everything. And add a personal message from me." She straightened her uniform, standing tall despite the weight of what they had discovered. "Tell them that we have 3 months to learn how to break the laws of physics. Because if we don't, we'll be facing an enemy that thinks humanity doesn't deserve to exist simply because we dared to push beyond our limitations." She looked around at her crew, seeing determination replace fear in their eyes. "And that's not something I'm willing to accept." As the U.S. Defiant turned back toward Earth, Lisa took one last look at the alien beacon. Its crystal structures continued their impossible dance, a testament to what was possible when a species dared to challenge the very rules of reality. Soon, humanity would have to make the same choice: submit to the natural order, or find ways to transcend it. The choice, she knew, had already been made. Humanity had never been good at accepting limitations, and if these Axiom thought they could stop human progress by enforcing the laws of physics, they were about to learn a very important lesson about human nature. They were about to learn that on Earth, even the impossible had to prove itself impossible first. Admiral Peter Blackwood stood at the head of the conference table in Earth Defense Command's main meeting room. The holographic display above the table showed the strange crystal structures that the U.S. Defiant had discovered. Around him sat Earth's brightest minds, all called in for what might be humanity's greatest challenge. 3 months, he said, his voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. "That's how long we have before these Axiom arrive. Dr. Summers, what can you tell us about the technical data Commander Reeves sent back?" Dr. Catherine Summers stood up. Her red hair was messy, and dark circles under her eyes showed she hadn't slept since the data arrived. She pressed a button, and new images appeared above the table. "It's amazing," she said, her eyes bright with excitement despite her tiredness. "These beings who left the warning beacon, they found ways to bend reality itself. They discovered that the laws of physics aren't really laws at all. They're more like suggestions. Suggestions that these Axiom enforce with violence," Fleet Captain Andrew Mitchell pointed out from his seat. He was a tall man with gray hair at his temples, and his uniform showed the marks of someone who spent more time in space than on Earth. "Yes," Catherine agreed. "But that's what makes this data so valuable. It shows us exactly what the Axiom consider forbidden. And by extension, it shows us exactly what we need to do to fight them. Admiral Blackwood leaned forward. Can you make it work? Can you give our ships this kind of capability? Catherine smiled. Sir, we've already started. The quantum engineering projects we were working on. They were baby steps in the right direction. With this new data, we can take giant leaps. The Admiral nodded and turned to Captain Mitchell. How many ships can we get ready in 3 months? If we call in every resource and work around the clock. Mitchell checked his tablet. Maybe 60% of the fleet. It won't be pretty, but we can do it. Make it happen. Blackwood looked around the room. Everyone here knows what's at stake. These Axiom think they can tell humanity what we're allowed to learn, what we're allowed to become. I don't know about you, but I didn't join the Defense Force to let aliens put limits on human potential. The room buzzed with activity as people broke into groups, already planning and organizing. Catherine stayed behind when the others left, still studying the holographic displays. Something on your mind, Doctor? Blackwood asked. The math, sir. She pointed to a series of equations floating in the air. These beings who left the beacon, they weren't just breaking the laws of physics. They were proving that what we think of as solid reality is really just a suggestion, a pattern we can change if we're clever enough. And you think we can be that clever? Catherine's eyes sparkled. Sir, being clever is what humans do best. We've got 3 months to learn how to break the universe's rules. Challenge accepted. The next few weeks passed in a blur of activity. Ships returned to Earth's orbital dockyards for modifications. Engineers and scientists worked day and night, implementing the new technologies they were discovering. At a testing facility on Mars, Lieutenant Anna Martinez watched as her special operations team ran drills with the new equipment. The gravity generators in their suits let them walk on walls and ceilings. Personal force fields bent light around them in ways that shouldn't be possible. This is incredible, she said, watching her team phase through solid objects using the new quantum tunneling devices. A month ago, this would have been magic. Now it's just Tuesday. Back on Earth, civilian contractor John Bennett oversaw the mass production of the new systems. His factories worked around the clock, turning theoretical physics into practical weapons and defenses. We're rewriting the rules, he told his workers. Every piece of equipment you build is a middle finger to the universe itself. Make them perfect. In orbit, the U.S. Defiant underwent its own modifications. Commander Lisa Reeves watched from a shuttle as new devices were installed across her ship's hull. The normally sleek vessel now bristled with technology that could bend space and time. How are the modifications coming along? Admiral Blackwood's voice came through her communicator. We're at 85% completion. Sir, she reported. Dr. Summers' team says we'll be ready for testing in 3 days. Good, because we just lost a week off our timeline. Lisa felt her heart skip. Sir, long-range sensors just picked up disturbances at the edge of our solar system. The kind of disturbances that match what the beacon warned us about. The Axiom are coming early. Lisa looked out at her ship, at the impossible devices that now covered its hull. How long do we have? 2 weeks, maybe less. The Admiral's voice was grim. Tell Dr. Summers to focus on weapons and defensive systems. We're out of time for anything fancy. Yes, sir. Lisa paused, then asked the question everyone had been avoiding. Sir, what if it's not enough? What if we can't break physics enough to fight them? Then we'll break physics even harder, Blackwood replied firmly. Humanity didn't climb out of the caves by following rules, Commander. We got here by looking at the impossible and saying, watch me. That's not going to change now. The next 2 weeks were a frenzy of activity. Ships were rushed through their modifications. Crews trained with systems that defied everything they thought they knew about reality. Scientists and engineers worked until they collapsed, then got up and worked some more. In her lab, Catherine Summers made breakthrough after breakthrough. Each new discovery showed them more ways to bend and break the laws of physics. Energy became matter. Matter became energy. Space folded in on itself. Time flowed backwards in control bubbles. "They're not coming to punish us," she told Admiral Blackwood during one late-night briefing. "They're coming because they're afraid of us. They can see what we might become." "And what's that?" the Admiral asked. Catherine gestured at the impossible devices scattered around her lab. "Free. They're coming because humanity is about to break free of the universe's limitations, and they can't allow that." "Well," Blackwood said with a grim smile, "they should have thought of that before they gave us a deadline. Nothing makes humans work harder than being told something's impossible." As the 2-week mark approached, the fleet gathered in high Earth orbit. 60 ships, each one now carrying technology that shouldn't exist. They weren't pretty anymore. Their hulls were covered in devices that bent reality in 1,000 different ways. But they were ready. "All ships, this is Admiral Blackwood." The command went out to the fleet. "Long-range sensors show multiple contacts approaching at FTL speeds. The Axiom are almost here. They're coming to tell us that we've gone too far, learned too much, broken too many rules." He paused, looking out at the fleet from his command ship. "I say we show them that humanity is just getting started. Battle stations, everyone. Let's go break some laws of physics." Lieutenant Anna Martinez watched her reflection fade away in the metal wall before her. The new stealth suit worked perfectly. It didn't just bend light around her body. It made her completely invisible to all known forms of detection. She reached out and pressed her hand against the wall. Instead of meeting solid metal, her fingers passed right through it. "Time," she asked into her radio. 30 seconds of quantum tunneling remaining." The technician's voice replied. "How does it feel?" "Like swimming through thick water," Anna said as she pulled herself completely through the wall. "But it works. The Axiom won't know what hit them." In the week since Admiral Blackwood's announcement, Earth's forces had been working overtime to master their new capabilities. The special operations teams were the test pilots for the most dangerous new technologies, the ones that broke the most fundamental laws of physics. Across the room, Sergeant Alan Peters practiced with another new device. He pointed a small silver cylinder at a target, pressed a button, and a beam of light shot out. When it hit the target, time itself seemed to twist. The metal target aged 1,000 years in seconds, crumbling to rust and dust. Time manipulation weapons are now functioning at 98% efficiency, Dr. Catherine Summers noted, making marks on her tablet. She looked tired but satisfied. "Just remember, no more than 3 seconds of temporal acceleration per burst. We don't want to accidentally age the whole ship." In orbit above Mars, John Bennett supervised the final modifications to the fleet. His factories had produced thousands of reality-bending devices, and now every ship in Earth's defense force carried weapons and defenses that would have been impossible just weeks ago. "Check the quantum field generators on the U.S. Valiant," he ordered his team. "If those fail during battle, the ship could end up in last Tuesday." The workers moved quickly, their spacewalks made easier by the new gravity manipulation devices in their suits. They could walk on any surface, ignore vacuum, and even create their own bubbles of breathable air. Physics had become more of a polite suggestion than a rule. Commander Lisa Reeves stood on the bridge of the U.S. Defiant, watching as her crew ran battle drills. On the main screen, simulated enemy ships appeared and disappeared as her weapons officers practiced with the new systems. "Target locked," reported Lieutenant Sam Cooper from his tactical station. "Quantum torpedoes ready." "Fire," Lisa ordered. On the screen, the simulated torpedo didn't just fly toward its target. It existed at every point along its path simultaneously, making it impossible to dodge. When it hit, the target ship split into multiple quantum states, each one showing a different way it could be destroyed. "Direct hit," Sam announced. "Target destroyed in 17 different realities at once." Lisa nodded. The weapons were strange, but they worked. And against an enemy that enforced the laws of physics, weapons that broke those laws might be their only chance. In her lab on Earth, Catherine Summers made one final breakthrough. She called Admiral Blackwood immediately. "We've cracked it," she said as soon as he arrived. "We know how the Axiom detect violations of natural law. And more importantly, we know how to hide them." She pointed to a complex diagram floating in the air. "Every time we break physics, it creates a ripple in reality. That's what draws their attention. But with these modifications, we can make those ripples look like natural quantum fluctuations." "Will it fool them?" Blackwood asked. "Long enough to get close," Catherine replied. "After that," she shrugged. "After that, we stop hiding and start showing them exactly what humanity can do." The Admiral smiled. "Get it installed on every ship. Priority 1. The next few days were a blur of activity. Ships received their final modifications. Crews ran endless drills with their new systems. Special operations teams practiced phasing through solid matter, manipulating time, and bending space itself to their will. John Bennett's factories worked at impossible speeds, the workers using time dilation fields to pack days of work into hours. The new devices rolled off the production lines faster than physics said they should, each one a testament to humanity's ability to break the rules. In orbit, the fleet gathered for one final exercise. 60 ships, each one now carrying enough reality-bending technology to make a physicist cry. They didn't look like normal vessels anymore. Their hulls rippled with strange energies, and space itself seemed to bend around them. "All ships, begin Battle Drill 7. Admiral Blackwood's voice came over the fleet channel. "Remember, we're not just fighting for survival. We're fighting for humanity's right to grow, to learn, to become more than what we are now." The ships moved in perfect formation, their crews working with technology that no human had even imagined possible a month ago. They phased through each other, split into multiple quantum states, created temporal duplicates that attacked from different points in time. Lieutenant Anna Martinez watched from her position on the U.S. Defiant. Her special operations team was ready, their new equipment tested and proven. They could walk through walls, manipulate time, and ignore most of the laws of physics. More importantly, they had learned to think beyond normal limitations. "Look at that," she said to Sergeant Peters as they watched the fleet maneuver. "A month ago, we thought the laws of physics were set in stone. Now we're treating them like traffic laws, useful suggestions, but sometimes you need to run a red light. The Axiom won't know what hit them," Peters replied with a grin. "They think they're coming to punish us for breaking the rules. We'll show them that humanity's just getting started." In his command center, Admiral Blackwood received the latest sensor reports. The Axiom fleet was getting closer, their ships moving through space in ways that seemed impossible. But now, humanity could do impossible things too. "Status report," he called out. "All ships report ready," his communications officer replied. "Quantum weapons are charged, reality anchors are online. Temporal shields are at full power. Special operations teams are in position," Anna Martinez reported from the Defiant. "Ready to board enemy vessels on your command, sir." "Engineering teams standing by," John Bennett added from his station. "If anything breaks the laws of physics a little too much, we can fix it." "The fleet is as ready as it will ever be," Catherine Summers concluded. She had moved her main lab to the flagship, ready to make last-minute adjustments if needed. "We've broken every rule in physics. Now we just need to break them harder than the Axiom." Blackwood looked out at his fleet, 60 ships carrying the best of humanity's ingenuity and determination. 60 crews who had learned to ignore impossible and rewrite reality. 60 chances to show the Axiom that humanity wouldn't be bound by anyone's rules but their own. "Send word to all ships," he ordered. "Battle stations. The Axiom want to see how well we follow the rules. Let's show them how well we break them instead." Commander Richard Taylor stood on the bridge of the U.S. Intrepid, watching as reality twisted itself into knots. The first Axiom ships had appeared at the edge of the solar system, and their arrival alone broke more laws of physics than he could count. "Sir," his sensor officer called out. "There? Well, They're everywhere and nowhere at once. I can't get a solid fix on their position." Richard understood the problem. The Axiom ships didn't travel through space. They simply ignored it. One moment they were at the edge of the solar system. The next, they were passing Jupiter's orbit. They moved like they were taking shortcuts through reality itself. "Hold position," he ordered. His ship was the furthest out, chosen for first contact because of its advanced sensor suite. "Let's see what they do." The Axiom ships were beautiful in a terrifying way. They looked like they were made of living crystal, each one bigger than Earth's largest vessels. They sparkled with impossible colors, colors that shouldn't exist in normal space. "Sir, we're receiving a transmission," the communications officer reported. It's coming from everywhere at once. Put it through." The main screen flickered, and Richard found himself looking at something his mind could barely process. The Axiom appeared as crystalline beings of pure energy, their forms shifting between different states of matter, as if they couldn't decide what they wanted to be. "Humanity," the voice came through clearly, though it seemed to bypass their communication system entirely. "You have violated the fundamental laws of creation. This cannot be permitted." Richard straightened his uniform. They had practiced for this. "This is Commander Richard Taylor of the Earth Defense Force. We are a sovereign species. We do not recognize your authority to limit our development." "Authority is irrelevant," the Axiom replied. "We are not rulers. We are correction. When the universe's laws are broken, we restore order. Your species has learned to bend reality. This is forbidden." At his tactical station, Lieutenant Greg Palmer kept his hands steady over the new weapons controls. The Intrepid's quantum cannons were charged and ready, hidden behind Catherine Summers' stealth systems. "Why is it forbidden?" Richard asked, playing for time as he transmitted everything back to the fleet. "Who gave you the right to decide what other species can learn?" The crystalline being seemed to pulse with frustration. "You do not understand. Reality has rules. Rules that maintain the stability of existence. By breaking these rules, you risk unraveling creation itself." "Or maybe," Richard countered, "we're just the first species you've encountered that's figured out the rules aren't as solid as you think." The Axiom's form flickered dangerously. "You will surrender your reality-bending technology. You will return to your natural level of development. This is not a request. You have 1 Earth hour to comply." Richard looked at his tactical display. More Axiom ships were arriving, each one ignoring the basic laws of space and time. But now he could see patterns in their movements, weaknesses in their approach. "And if we refuse, then you will be corrected." The crystalline being's form stabilized, becoming sharp and dangerous. "We have done this many times before. The species that left you their warning beacon, they also refused to comply. They no longer exist in any reality." Richard smiled. "Yes, we found their beacon, but I don't think you understand what else we found there." He nodded to Greg, who pressed a sequence of buttons. Around the Intrepid, reality rippled as their quantum stealth system activated. To the Axiom, it would look like the ship was simply conforming to natural law. "What have you done?" the Axiom demanded, their form flickering with what might have been concern. "We found their research," Richard said calmly. "Their technology. Their understanding of how reality really works. And do you know what we discovered?" The crystalline being remained silent. "We discovered that the laws of physics aren't laws at all. They're training wheels, put there to keep young species from hurting themselves while they learn. But humanity," he smiled again, "we're ready to take the training wheels off." Alarms blared across the Intrepid as more Axiom ships appeared. They were being surrounded, but that was part of the plan. Every second of conversation gave Earth's fleet more data about how the Axiom moved, how they fought, how they broke the rules of reality. "You have 1 hour," the Axiom repeated. "Surrender your forbidden technology, or face extinction." The transmission cut off. Richard immediately opened a channel to Earth Defense Command. "Admiral Blackwood, did you get all that?" Every word, Commander. The Admiral's voice came back. Well done. Dr. Summers is already analyzing their energy patterns. What's your assessment? Richard looked at his tactical display, where the Axiom ships hung in space like impossible crystals. They're powerful, sir. They break physics in ways we're just beginning to understand. But they're predictable. They think they're the universe's immune system, and they act like it. They follow patterns. And if there's one thing humanity's good at, it's finding patterns and exploiting them. Agreed. The Admiral's voice was grim but determined. Get your ship back to the fleet. They gave us an hour. Let's use it to finish our preparations. As the Intrepid began its careful withdrawal, Richard watched the Axiom ships. They were so convinced of their righteousness, so certain that they were protecting the universe. They had probably done this dozens of times before, eliminating any species that dared to break the laws of physics. But they had never faced humans before. They had never encountered a species that looked at the impossible and saw it as a challenge. Sir, Greg called from Tactical. I've analyzed their weapon signatures. They use controlled reality collapse to eliminate their targets. They basically edit their enemies out of existence. Can our quantum shields handle that? Greg smiled. Better than that, sir. Dr. Summers' latest modifications mean we can catch their reality collapse and throw it back at them. They're not the only ones who can edit existence anymore. Richard nodded. In less than an hour, the greatest battle in human history would begin. A battle not just for survival, but for humanity's right to grow, to learn, to break through any barrier placed in their path. Send a message to all hands, he ordered. Tell them that in 1 hour, we're going to show the universe that humanity doesn't follow rules. We break them, we rewrite them, and we make new ones. As the Intrepid rejoined Earth's fleet, Richard could see that every ship was ready. Their hulls bristled with technology that shouldn't exist, their crews prepared to fight an enemy that thought they were enforcing the laws of nature itself. The Axiom had given them an hour to surrender. Instead, humanity would use that hour to prepare for war. A war that would show creation itself that some rules were made to be broken. Captain Jennifer Morris watched the countdown timer on the U.S. Valiant's main screen. 10 minutes remained until the Axiom's deadline. Around her ship, Earth's fleet waited in formation, each vessel humming with power that shouldn't exist. All weapons charge, reported her weapons officer. Quantum torpedoes ready. Reality warping cannons at full power. Special operations teams standing by. Lieutenant Anna Martinez's voice came through the comm system. Her soldiers were ready to board enemy vessels using their phase shift technology. Jennifer looked at her tactical display. The Axiom fleet had arranged itself in a perfect sphere around the human forces, their crystalline ships glowing with impossible colors. They were so certain of their victory, so convinced of their righteousness. 5 minutes, her XO announced. On the fleet's flagship, Admiral Blackwood opened a channel to all ships. This is it, people. The Axiom think they're here to enforce the laws of physics, to put humanity back in its box, to tell us what we can and cannot learn. He paused, letting his words sink in. But they've made one crucial mistake. They've never faced humans before. They don't understand that telling humanity something is impossible just makes us try harder. Jennifer smiled at that. Her crew straightened at their stations, pride visible on their faces. We have new orders, Blackwood continued. Instead of waiting for their deadline, we strike first. Dr. Summers has identified a weakness in their formation. They arrange their ships based on mathematical constants. They literally cannot imagine breaking that pattern. So we're going to break it for them, Jennifer said to her crew. Battle stations. Prepare for temporal jump on my mark. The U.S. Valiant's engines powered up, but not in any normal way. The new drives didn't push the ship through space. They moved it through time itself, allowing it to exist in multiple moments at once. 3 minutes to deadline, her XO reported. All ships, Admiral Blackwood's voice rang out. Execute Operation Murphy's Law. Jennifer grinned. It was a fitting name. They were about to prove that anything that could go wrong with the laws of physics would go wrong. Temporal drives engage, her engineer reported. We can maintain quantum superposition for 6 minutes before reality snaps back. That's 5 minutes more than we need. All hands, brace for temporal shift. Execute jump in 3, 2, 1. Mark. The U.S. Valiant didn't just move. It shattered reality around itself. One ship became 5, each one existing at a slightly different point in time. The rest of the fleet did the same, turning 60 ships into 300 that attacked from multiple temporal angles at once. The Axiom's perfect formation broke instantly. Their crystalline ships spun in confusion as human vessels appeared in places that should have been impossible to reach. Target locked. Weapons called out. First shot ready. Fire. The Valiant's quantum torpedoes streaked out. Or rather, they existed at all points between the ship and their target simultaneously. There was no way to dodge them because they hit before they were fired, existed after they exploded, and occupied every moment in between. An Axiom ship shattered, its crystalline form breaking across multiple realities at once. The pieces fell through time itself, existing and not existing in the same moment. Direct hit. Weapons reported triumphantly. Target destroyed in 17 different timelines simultaneously. But the Axiom weren't defenseless. Their ships began to respond, firing beams of pure crystalline energy that tried to enforce normal physics on anything they touched. One hit the U.S. Atlanta, forcing it back into a single point in time and space. Atlanta's hit, but still in the fight. Jennifer's tactical officer reported. Their quantum shields held. Of course they held. Dr. Catherine Summers' voice came through the command channel. The Axiom think they can force reality to behave, but we've learned how to bend it instead. Reality is more flexible than they understand. The battle expanded across space and time. Human ships phased through solid matter, split into quantum duplicates, and fired weapons that broke the laws of physics in new and interesting ways. The Axiom responded with increasing desperation, their perfect formations dissolving into chaos. Special Operations Teams, you are go for boarding action. Admiral Blackwood ordered. Jennifer watched a small craft launched from various ships, their stealth systems making them invisible to normal space. Lieutenant Martinez and her teams were going to board the Axiom vessels, using their phase shift technology to walk right through the crystalline hulls. Sir, her sensor officer called out suddenly. The Axiom. They're changing tactics. They're trying to copy our technology. Let them try, Catherine Summers replied confidently. They don't understand it. They see our technology as a violation of natural law. They can't copy it because they can't accept that the laws themselves are just suggestions. The battle continued to escalate. The Axiom's larger ships began to move forward, their crystalline forms pulsing with power. They fired beams of pure law, trying to force reality to behave normally again. But humanity had learned too much, adapted too well. When the beams hit their ships, quantum shields didn't just block them. They absorbed the energy and used it to break physics even harder. Status report, Jennifer called out as the Valiant executed another temporal jump. Hull integrity at 92%, engineering reported. Quantum drives still functioning, reality anchors holding steady. We can maintain this level of physics violation for another 20 minutes. We won't need 20 minutes, Jennifer replied, watching her tactical display. The Axiom fleet was in disarray, their perfect formations shattered, their certainty broken. Anna Martinez's voice came through the comm. First boarding action successful. We're inside one of their command ships. You won't believe what we're seeing in here. Tell me, Admiral Blackwood ordered. They're not just enforcing the laws of physics, sir. They're afraid of what happens when those laws break. Their whole society is built around maintaining order in the universe. They literally cannot handle chaos. Jennifer smiled grimly. Well then, let's show them just how chaotic humanity can be. She turned to her weapons officer. Target their flagship. All quantum weapons, full spread. Let's break some laws of physics. The Valiant's weapons powered up, reality warping around them as they prepared to fire. The Axiom had come to punish humanity for learning too much, for pushing too far, for breaking the rules. Instead, they were about to learn why you should never tell humans that something is impossible, because humanity's response would always be the same. Watch us. The rings of Saturn glowed in the darkness as the final battle unfolded. Admiral Peter Blackwood stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching as reality itself bent and broke around the fighting ships. The Axiom had retreated this far, but they couldn't retreat any further. This was where everything would end. "Status report," he ordered. Commander Paul Harrison, his tactical coordinator, brought up a holographic display of the battlefield. "The Axiom fleet is down to 40% strength, but they're getting desperate, sir. They're starting to break their own rules." "Good," Dr. Catherine Summers said from her station. "That's exactly what we wanted. The more they break their own laws, the more their entire worldview crumbles." The battle around Saturn was unlike anything the universe had ever seen. Human ships phased through solid matter, split into quantum duplicates, and fired weapons that shouldn't exist. The Axiom's crystalline vessels responded with increasing desperation, their perfect formations dissolving into chaos. On the U.S. Valiant, Captain Jennifer Morris watched as her ship's quantum torpedoes tore holes in reality itself. Direct hit on their command ship, her weapons officer reported. They're starting to crack. The massive crystalline vessel at the center of the Axiom fleet was indeed cracking, but not just its physical form. Reality itself was cracking around it, showing glimpses of other dimensions, other possibilities. "All ships," Admiral Blackwood's voice rang out across the fleet. "Execute final attack pattern. Show them exactly what humanity can do when someone says impossible." Lieutenant Anna Martinez and her special operations team had reached the heart of the largest Axiom ship. They walked through solid crystal as if it were air, their phase shift suits letting them ignore the basic rules of matter. "Sir," she reported back to the fleet, "we're in their central chamber. The Axiom, they're changing. They're starting to understand." The crystalline beings that had once appeared so certain, so absolute in their purpose, were now flickering between states of existence. Their perfect forms were breaking down as they faced something they had never encountered before. A species that didn't just break the rules, but proved the rules were meant to be broken. "Fleet Command," Catherine Summers called out suddenly. "I'm detecting a massive energy buildup in the Axiom fleet. They're trying something big." The remaining Axiom ships began to move, arranging themselves in a pattern that hurt human eyes to look at. Energy flowed between them, building toward something that would either enforce the laws of physics across the entire solar system, or break reality itself trying. "They still don't understand," Catherine said, shaking her head. "They think if they just push hard enough, reality will go back to following their rules." Admiral Blackwood smiled. "Then let's show them how humanity responds to rules. All ships, execute Operation Reality Break." Across the human fleet, crews activated systems that shouldn't have been possible. Ships didn't just break physics. They rewrote it. Space twisted. Time folded. Reality itself seemed to hold its breath. "Sir," Anna Martinez reported from inside the Axiom vessel, "they're starting to panic. I don't think they've ever seen anything like this." "No one has," Blackwood replied, "because no one else ever looked at the laws of physics and said these need an upgrade." The Axiom's final attack launched, a wave of pure crystalline energy that should have forced everything back to normal physics. Should have. Instead, every human ship activated their quantum shields in a specific pattern. The shields didn't just block the energy. They caught it, twisted it, and turned it into something new. "Now," Catherine Summers shouted, "all ships, reality anchors to maximum." "Reality anchors," humanity's greatest achievement in physics violation, activated across the fleet. They didn't try to enforce the laws of physics like the Axiom did. Instead, they created bubbles of space where humanity could write their own laws. The Axiom's attack hit these bubbles and changed. Their energy, meant to enforce the natural order, instead became proof that the natural order was whatever humanity decided it should be. Energy conversion successful, Harrison reported. Ready for final strike. Admiral Blackwood looked out at the Axiom fleet, at the beings who had destroyed so many species for daring to learn too much. All ships, fire. 60 human vessels, using technology that rewrote the rules of reality, fired as one. But they didn't fire normal weapons. They fired possibility itself. The shots didn't destroy the Axiom ships. They rewrote them, changed them, showed them every possible way their rigid view of reality could be wrong. Inside the largest Axiom ship, Anna Martinez and her team watched as the crystalline beings began to change. "Sir," she reported, I think they're evolving. They're starting to understand that rules can change." The Axiom fleet hung in space, their perfect crystalline forms now shifting, changing, adapting. Their rigid patterns broke down into something new, something that could accept change. "We're receiving a transmission," communications reported, "from all Axiom ships at once." "Put it through," Blackwood ordered. The voice that came through was different from before. No longer certain, no longer rigid. "Humanity," it said, "you have taught us something new." "That was the idea," Blackwood replied. "We have enforced the laws of reality since the beginning of time," the voice continued. "We thought we were protecting creation, but you have shown us that creation does not need protection. It needs growth." Catherine Summers stepped forward. "The laws of physics aren't meant to be enforced," she said. "They're meant to be understood. And once you understand them, they can be improved." The Axiom finished. We withdraw. Humanity has not broken creation. You have proven it can evolve." As the Axiom fleet began to retreat, not in defeat but in transformation, Admiral Blackwood opened a channel to all human ships. "All hands," he said, "what we've done here today will be remembered for as long as humanity exists. We didn't just defend ourselves. We didn't just break the laws of physics. We proved that even the fundamental rules of reality can be rewritten." He looked out at Saturn's rings, now glowing with new possibilities. "And if anyone else ever tells humanity something is impossible, well, they'll learn what the Axiom learned today." "What's that, sir?" Harrison asked. Blackwood smiled. "That impossible is just another word for hasn't been done yet." The human fleet regrouped, their ships still humming with power that rewrote reality. They had faced beings that enforced the laws of physics themselves, and they had done what humanity always did when faced with rules. They broke them, rewrote them, and made them better. As Earth's fleet turned toward home, they left behind a changed universe, one where the laws of physics weren't laws at all, but guidelines waiting to be improved. And any species that followed humanity's path would find not punishment, but encouragement to push further, learn more, and break through every barrier in their way. The day creation witnessed Earth's battle fleet violate natural law became the day the universe learned its most important lesson. Never tell humanity something is impossible, because humanity's response will always be two simple words: watch us.